I was reminded again today of the fact that over in Europe, many of our brothers and sisters are facing retightening of restrictions, full lockdowns. It is a challenging time, a very, very difficult time, literally around the globe. For the church and for the commandments given to us to meet. A lot of people are being forced to think through why we do this. A lot of us just did it out of habit. It's what you're supposed to do. Never really thought, well, why? And if the government says stop, just stop. Can't you just live a regular Christian life and just stop? Just do your thing? And so the issue of fellowship, the meaning of koinonia, the concept of the means of grace, how God uses others as an encouragement in your life to keep you on the straight and narrow, to keep you going, and your role in encouraging others. All this, we certainly have had to think through a whole lot more than we ever have before. And certainly, I hope the people around the globe have a much deeper appreciation of the privilege of being able to partake of the Lord's Supper, what the Lord's Supper means. These are all things that, as ostensibly a quote-unquote second wave hits Europe, are relevant to people's thinking. Last evening, I was sent a study. This is, oh man, that's small print. When you save it as a PDF, it's like, eh? This is John P.A. Ioannidis, infection fatality rate of COVID-19 inferred from seroprevalence data. That's not zero as in blood. Prevalence data. This is the Bulletin of the World Health Organization, article ID, And so this is a peer-reviewed but not yet published, as far as I know, published in the final journal. But obviously right now, one of the big issues, I'll be brief with this, I've got a lot of other things to get to, but one of the issues is the accuracy of testing and the final results of that testing. And this particular article, utilizing, I would assume, the accepted numbers around the world, came to the conclusion that for people under the age of 70, the mortality rate is, as it says right here, COVID-19 has a very steep age gradient for risk of death. Pretty much the opposite age gradient that H1N1 originally had when it hit. In other words, it affects older people, and H1N1 went the other direction. It was younger people. It was very strange. But I'm concerned that we have not really yet begun doing serious analysis of what COVID-19 is really actually all about, for political reasons rather than medical reasons. Anyway, the result of the study is a below 70 mortality rate of 0.05%. 0.05%. Now, I looked up H1N1 numbers, and the most consistent number I could find was 0.1%, which is twice COVID-19 for people under 70. That's part of the age curve issue. So that's coming out. Now, I didn't try to repost that. That was sent to me on Twitter. And thanks to the gentleman that sent it to me on Twitter. So I didn't try like hitting, repost or anything like that. But I also had encountered a article by Michael Thau from September 3rd, talking about a New York Times article. Now, this was a lengthy article, and it is fascinating. Again, I'll try to be brief. It's about PCR cycle. And if you're not familiar with this, I'm not going to go into it right now. Look it up. It is interesting. It is about the technology that is being utilized to be able to detect literally fragments of the shell of the virus. So in other words, you look at the virus, and what you're looking for is you're looking for something extremely unique. When you're working on a vaccine, you want something that's extremely unique and exposed that you can identify and try to attack or get the body to attack or things like that. But this is a PCR process where the first thing you do is you have to convert the RNA of the virus shell to DNA. And then you do a magnification process where you're magnifying what's in the sample over and over and over and over and over again. So much so that the standard magnification numbers are around 40 times, which is over a trillion. I realize now that we're spending trillions of dollars, which we don't have, that the number has entered into our thinking. I'm not sure I ever thought about a trillion when I was a younger person, because who had anything that required that kind of a number? But to magnify something a trillion times, it's pretty amazing stuff. I'll make a long story short here. The positive results that are coming back on COVID tests, for example, the Giro d'Italia may not even make it through its 3-week cycling run race, because people are calling for it to be shut down because there have been positive tests for COVID. Well, COVID isn't going to touch one of these people. They'll barely even know they've got it. But hey, it's a death sentence. It's the plague. It's the worst thing on the planet. It'll kill everybody if one person gets it. So you shut the whole thing down. All the training people have done, just shut it all down. Well, all these big numbers are coming in. And what the article is about is, when you really dig into it, even the CDC has admitted, once you go past 33 cycles, you basically can't detect anything anymore. It's worthless. And most people are using 40 cycles. So the point is, 95% of these could be false positives. And they break it all down. I mean, I don't know how many, I could have counted the number of words, but it's a lengthy article going into all sorts of different aspects on this particular subject. Well, as soon as I pasted the URL into my Facebook, boom, up comes, "You're about to share false information." As soon as I posted it in. Well, it still allows you to do it, so I did it. And then I clicked on their counter argumentation. It was the most facile, simplistic, absurd little bit of nothing I've ever seen in my life. It did not touch. The person who wrote this doesn't even know what a PCR cycle is. But Facebook said it. Facebook is out there censoring stories about Hunter Biden and censoring any kind of information that would basically say, we are being gamed and gamed big. Yeah. It is amazing how fast, boom, just like that. Just like that. Instant Facebook censorship. And you want something also instant and fast? I hope you saw the story. Al Mohler mentioned it. I had seen when I first saw this story, my first thought was, is this the bee? Is it, is this a real site? Is this a real story? It is. During the Senate hearings, which were not really hearings, but during the Senate trial of future Justice Barrett's patients, which, for her, she was probably sitting there over and over again going, I got 7 kids. I can handle these Democrats. Because they're all about on the same level. They were. Their behavior, the depth of thought, with one exception. There was one Democrat that actually asked some, clearly knows something about what they were talking about, rather than just sat there screaming about Roe or whatever. But all the rest of them are just children, infants. And so during that time, one of the worst, I mean, be careful what you say. John Calvin said that when God wants to punish a people, he gives them unrighteous judges. And that's biblically true, and it's historically true. And there are people serving in the United States Senate and House of Representatives that, if the very fact that they're there demonstrates that this nation is under severe, severe judgment. And, wow. Anyway, so this one particular female senator from a state way in the West, like over toward Japan, got all upset because Judge Barrett used the term sexual preference. And according to this senator, this is an offensive phrase. Why is it offensive phrase? Because it actually assumes that you can make a choice as to your sexual activity. Now, of course, this was used for decades without anyone thinking that it had that meaning. But this senator decided that it does. And within 48 hours, actually it was within 24 hours, the Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary changed its definition of the phrase and added a note that it is an offensive term. You can look at the Wayback Machine. You can look at the archives. The last time it had been updated was September 28th. There wasn't anything there about it being offensive at all. And as soon as this happens in the Senate, you're now changing the dictionary to match the preferences of leftists. Again, we just sit back and go, yeah, they read 1984 and they think it's the manual on how to do this. This is Newspeak. This is exactly what Orwell was talking about when he talks about how the Newspeak dictionary keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and how you just keep changing the meanings of words. And it's happening right in front of our eyes. And at least right now, we recognize it. We still have the freedom in some venues to talk about it. How long till that's gone? Well, it could be as early as January. The way things are going, at least according to the polls, I'm certainly hoping those polls are just as wrong as they were in 2016. I hope. But if you were to ask me, what my confidence of A, my vote being counted, and B, my vote not being wiped out by 10 fake votes through mail-in, dead people voting 47 times, my vote literally being changed. What's my level of confidence? The lowest it has ever been. The lowest it has ever been. I said in March, I was one of the first people to go, oh boy, looks like the leftists really want to keep these lockdowns going way past 2 weeks, and we got an election coming up, and I bet you anything they're going to try to start pushing mail-in ballots so they can do ballot harvesting. Yep. That's what's going on. Yeah. So there you go. Change in dictionary. This is a war of language. It is a war of language. Control the language, you control the results. And if you are willing to change the meanings of words, you are a dishonest person. You have no integrity. But if you're just stardust with nothing above you but sky, who cares? integrity doesn't mean anything anyways. That's why secular worldview is destructive of any governmental system that could possibly provide you with liberty and freedom. Can't do it. Can't and won't. Can't and won't.